Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Robert Allen, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Flight Lieutenant Harrison Leonard. This evening, we warmly welcome the delegation representing RSL Queensland. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Tamworth Public School, New South Wales. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Rolls of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Harold Craig Close. Harold Close was born on the 11th of March 1896 in the Melbourne suburb of Caulfield, one of three sons born to John and Elizabeth Close. Harold's father worked as a stock and dairy inspector in Bendigo, where Harold grew up. In 1913, Harold's older brother Jack died at the age of 21 after an extended period of rheumatic fever. Harold was educated at the Central State School in Bendigo. Then he went to work on a sheep and cattle station at Talmalmo, New South Wales, in order to gain experience in farming. Harold Close enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in February 1915, shortly before his 19th birthday. He underwent a period of training in Australia before leaving for active service on board the troop ship Euripides in May 1915. He was first sent to Egypt and from there to Gallipoli. On the 2nd of September 1915, the troop ship carrying men of the 2nd Australian Division to Gallipoli was torpedoed by a German submarine. Private Harold Close was one of hundreds of Australian servicemen who assembled on the promenade deck to wait their turn to board a lifeboat. Almost all were saved, and the men repeatedly commended for their coolness and bravery while the ship was sinking. After their rescue, they were sent on to Lemnos while the Southland was salvaged, and from there they went to Gallipoli. Private Close had been on Gallipoli a short time when he was wounded. He was looking over the parapet of a trench with a periscope when the scope was shot. Splinters went into his face and he was taken to the casualty clearing station for treatment. His wounds were bad enough that he was taken to hospital on Malta. In November 1915, Private Close was transferred to a hospital in England for further treatment of his facial wounds. He was finally well enough to be sent back to the 23rd Battalion, where he was training in Egypt in March 1916. Less than 2 weeks later, he accompanied his battalion as it was sent on to France to fight on the Western Front. The 23rd Battalion first entered the front line in a quieter sector of the front, near Armentières. The war diary notes that their time in the front was initially quiet and that the enemy's attitude was not aggressive. As their stay in the front line went on, however, the Germans began to shell their position more frequently and occasionally sent over fire from trench mortars. On the 16th of April 1916, the 23rd Battalion again came under fire from German artillery. One officer and 6 other ranks were wounded in the fire and evacuated from the front line. Among the men wounded was Private Harold Close. Suffering from shell wounds to the head, he was taken to a Canadian casualty clearing station where he died of his wounds 2 days later. Private Harold Close's remains were buried near the casualty clearing station, and today he lies in the Ballier Communal Cemetery Extension beneath the simple epitaph, Loving Remembrance. He was 20 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Harold Craig Close, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.